Today we are here to explore the areas of center-state relations. Now we'll divide our topic in three parts. First, I'll be dealing with legislative relations, and then in the second episode we'll be dealing with center-state administrative relations. And in the third lecture, we'll go for the center-state financial relations in India. As we all know that India is a federal country, but if one tries to explore the provisions of the constitution, it may be revealed that India is more a unitary one than a federal entity. Center-state relations lay the foundation for exploring the nature of federalism in India. Let's start with the basic foundation of federalism, that is Article 1, Clause 1 of the Constitution. What it states? It states that India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. Nowhere it has been enumerated that India is a federal country. So it is union of states containing many of the federal and non-federal features. What are its federal features? As like other federal countries of the world, India is having a written constitution. It is the largest constitution of the world. It is partly rigid. It has made quite a good blend of rigidity and flexibility. Indian constitution has extensive distribution of powers between the center and the states. We have an independent judiciary and we have an upper house, that is Rajya Sabha, Council of States, which represents the states. What are the unitary features of the Constitution of India? Indian Constitution has tried to create a very strong center. It is a centralized federalism. K.C. Ware called it as quasi-federal system. Often it is said that it is basically a unitary state with certain federal features. India encourages an uneven distribution of power. In the seventh schedule of the Constitution, there are three lists. Union list, containing 99 items like foreign affairs, defense, armed forces, etc. State list containing 61 items, public order, police, etc. And concurrent list containing 52 items containing civil and criminal procedure, divorce, marriage, etc. Now, other unitary features are residuary powers remain in the hand of the center. In India, residuary powers are being given to the center, making the center a very dominant entity. Indian constitution is partly rigid. I have already told that. Why it is partly rigid? Some of its provisions are quite flexible to be amended by a simple majority of the members present and voting in the Indian Parliament. Only simple majority, that is more than half of the members present and voting on that very date. Some of its provisions can be amended by the two-thirds majority of the members of the Parliament present and voting. Very few provisions are there, amendment of which requires consent of the states. Indian Constitution provides for single citizenship. In USA, there is dual citizenship. But in India, we are only Indians. We are neither the citizens of Bihar, Orissa, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal. We are only the Indians. There is an unequal representation of states in Rajya Sabha. For example, whereas Andhra Pradesh sends 18 members, Tripura, Arunachal, etc. sends 1 each to Rajya Sabha. Bihar, West Bengal sends 16, whereas Maharashtra sends 19, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand sends 3 each to the Council of States. UP sends 31, whereas Haryana sends 5. That is, there is an unequal representation of states in the Council of States. There are certain other unitary features. Right, the Parliament enjoys exclusive right to change the name, territory or boundary of the state. A governor is appointed by the President, who often acts as the agent of the centre. He is the head of the state, that is the constituting unit of Indian federalism. Dominant authority of the Parliament has been well established. There is a single integrated hierarchical judicial setup with Supreme Court at its apex and High Court and other district sessions court subsequently below this. In India, there is only one constitution for the entire country. Only Jammu and Kashmir by Article 370 can make its own constitution. In USA, there are constitutions of the states also. Now, let's come to Article 2 and 3 of the Constitution. Article 2 stipulates regarding admission or establishment of new states, which says that Parliament may by law admit into the Union any new state. That is, it remains with the Parliament. What Article 3 says? It says that Parliament enjoys exclusive right regarding the formation of new state and alteration of areas, boundaries, names of existing states. How it reads? Parliament may by law form a new state, increase the area of the state, diminish the area of a state, alter the boundary of a state, alter the name of a state. And how can it do this? Only by enacting a very simple law. It does not require any stringent procedure. Only the affected states are consulted. Now, the very word consultation never invites any mandatory allegiance to states' opinion. States' opinion may be taken, but centre is not bound to abide by that opinion. Let's come to Article 245. It says that Parliament can make laws for the whole of India, for the territory of the India or any part of it, whereas state legislatures can make laws which will be applicable within the jurisdiction of the state itself. Jurisdiction is fixed only for the centre, but there are number of provisions which allow the Parliament to make laws or to trespass in the jurisdiction of the states. Article 246. There are 3 lists. I have already said that. Union list containing 99 items, state list containing 61 items, and concurrent list containing 52 items. And this Article 246 stipulates that stipulates regarding the subject matter of laws to be made by the Parliament and by the legislature of the state. That is, Parliament will make laws in the items of the central list, that is Union list. State legislatures will make laws in the items of the state list, and there is another concurrent list in which both the centre and the states can make laws. But however, if there is any sort of conflict between the central and the state laws, central law shall be declared valid. Article 247. It provides for the power of the Parliament for the establishment of certain additional courts for better administration of laws made by the Parliament. As we have already discussed, Article 248, by Article 248, residuary powers of legislation have been given to the Parliament, that is, Parliament enjoys exclusive power in this respect. Article 249. It says that in the national interest that Parliament should make laws with respect to any matter enumerated in the state list, it shall be lawful for the Parliament to make laws for the whole or part of the territory of India. So, in national interest, quote unquote national interest, Parliament can make laws in the items of the state list. This is highly unfederal. Fortunately, it has never been implemented. Such a law shall remain in force for 1 year, for a period not exceeding 1 year. It can be renewed for another 1 year. However, for after expiration of that 1 year, that law shall cease to exist. She is to be in operation within next 6 months. Article 249 to Article 253 actually is not in the nature of normal federal essence. So, let's turn our eyes to Article 250. It tells about the power of Parliament to legislate with respect to any matter in the state list if a proclamation of emergency is in operation. Proclamation of emergency by Article 352. It is called national emergency. It can be declared by the President if there is any threat of external aggression, armed rebellion, and so on. So, in such a situation, Parliament can enact laws in any of the items of the state list. This law ceases to have an effect on the expiration of the period of 6 months after the proclamation has ceased to operate. Now, so far as Article 249 and 250, these articles are concerned, once the laws are made in any of the items of the state list, even if there are state laws, the state laws shall not be in operation during the period when Parliament has enacted law. Article 251 says just this thing, that if there is any inconsistency between the laws made by the Parliament under Article 249 and 250, laws made by the legislatures of the state shall be declared invalid. Laws made by the Parliament shall prevail over the state laws. Article 252 enumerates the power of the Parliament to legislate for 2 or more states by consent and adoption of such legislation by any other state. Now, this power of Parliament extends to any other state also. Again, it is not conducive to form a federal state, federal country. Article 253. It calls for legislation for giving effect to international agreements. There are certain other provisions, especially the question of giving assent to bills. State legislature is empowered to enact laws in the items of the state list. Now, how these laws are enacted? There are 2 types of bills, ordinary bills and the money bills. So far as the ordinary bills are concerned, as well as the money bills, they go to the governor for his assent. In case of money bills, governor is bound to give his assent. But so far as ordinary bills are concerned, governor may give his assent or may withhold his assent. Say a bill is to be enacted which seems to the governor that it may be derogatory to the power of the High Court. He may reserve it. The bill may be reserved by the governor for consideration of the President, Article 201. Now, if the bill is reserved for the consideration of the President, what happens? It goes to the President for his assent. In case of central legislation, President is bound to give his assent. After 42nd Amendment, President was bound to give his assent without hesitation. But after 44th Amendment, enacted in the year 1978, President can send it back only for once. But after being reconsidered or without accommodating the suggestion of the President, if it again comes back to the President, he is bound to give his assent in case of central legislation. There is no such limitation for the President in case of the bills sent by the governor, which is duly approved, even if it is duly approved by the state legislature. There are a number of bills which are still pending with the President. Actually, Indian Constitution historically has taken most of its things from Westminster model. Historically, India was a unitary state. It was known as British India. Unlike USA, which adopted the model where separate units joined together, in India, the unitary structure was segregated for some political reason. It had some political equation. In pre-independent India, there were three major forces: INC, Indian National Congress, Muslim League, and princely states. All these three forces were eager to have a good share of power in the central government. Therefore, the statesmen, the framers of the constitution, came out with a unique compromise, with a unique system of federalism where there is a strong center and very weak state units. Why it was so? Actually, they were afraid regarding the unity and integrity of the nation. Therefore, what the framers of the constitution thought, that if bonding is strong, control is stringent, unity and integrity of the Indian Union will remain intact. But let's wind up with some very tricky questions. Is it really so? Then why are there so many claims for smaller states? Why there are regional imbalances both in terms of economic and social development? Why people, especially in the border regions, they are suffering from the feeling of deprivation? Is it really the feeling of relative deprivation, or the deprivation is there? This is the fact. As we know that we have geographical variations, we have different historical experiences. So, was it proper to constitute India with a strong center, or further devolution of power to enable proper democratic decentralization would have secured integrity of the nation in a more accurate way? Now, all these things will be better explored when we'll discuss about administrative relations, that is, not only in during legislation but also while administering the country. Indian Union extend its control over the states, making the states actually dependent on the central unit of governance. This is all for legislative relations, which establishes dominance, central dominance over the state units of legislature, that is the state legislatures, making India an unfederal entity. It is not exactly federalism, it is a blend of federalism and unitary model of governance.